Save the King!
Hello and welcome back to Pod Save the King. We have a bumper show for you today after a little bit of a hiatus. Thank you very much for your messages and your Instagram posts all about Pod Save the King. Where has it gone? Is it coming back? Well, I can tell you that both myself and Jennifer Newton have been very, very busy behind the scenes. We have been working on some new offerings for our loyal podcast and newsletter crew that are coming to you very, very soon. So it's a very exciting time for us at Mirror Towers. We've been working on a brand new newsletter, completely new offerings, behind the scenes access for all of you who have been following our work. And for Pod Save the King, well, we are going to be launching a brand new show for you. So thank you so much for your interest. We have been so busy. And of course, we have been traveling not only to America with the King and Queen for that incredible state visit at the behest of the British government, but a huge welcome by President Donald Trump as well. So that has sort of gone past the wayside now, but we will dive straight into what has been happening because Jennifer has been busy. She's been over in Northern Ireland with the King and Queen, a really important visit, which is always takes place sort of about once a year, once every 2 years, for members of the royal family to go to communities and organisations across the region. And we saw not only the King and Queen talking to farmers, talking to charities, but also, unbelievably, the King confessing his love for the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain and even getting on the strings himself. There has been an awful lot happening this week. Breaking news that we've got for you today for this special edition of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and the incredible investigation that is ongoing with Thames Valley Police, who are now widening the scope of their probe, not only looking into allegations of misconduct in a public office, but also looking at potential sexual offences as well. Our crime editor, Tom Pettifer, was at a special briefing at Thames Valley yesterday, talking to detectives who are basically saying that they need witnesses, they need victims to potentially come forward and help them with their investigation. And as the pace gathers for this huge probe, what questions are there for Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and for Buckingham Palace? We'll be diving straight into that. But Jennifer has just hot-footed it to us in the studio. We have not only seen the King and Queen travelling across land and sea, but they've also hot-footed it over to Northern Ireland. And Jennifer was there witnessing it all firsthand. So, first of all, what were your highlights, Jen? I mean, obviously mine was the ukulele playing, talking to members of an allotment, and then the ukuleles got brought out. Everybody was having a bit of a sing-song. I mean, was that the most interesting thing to happen?
Well, I think this trip there was a lot of music, singing, dancing, and I don't think you could expect anything more from when you go to a place like Ireland with all the rich culture of singing and the song and dancing and just great music and great culture, really. And I think that was right at the heart of this trip to Northern Ireland, which they were describing as the King and Queen's annual trip to Northern Ireland. So I think this is obviously something that they want to do every year, make sure that places like Northern Ireland aren't missing out on these royal visits that, from what I can see, the people who turned out to see them, there was a lot of people and they really enjoyed having them there. And also the King really seemed to enjoy himself, like you say, playing the ukulele, getting involved, making cakes, dancing with the Irish dancers. I think he really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think this is part of the sort of playbook at the moment. It's not only about getting to these big state visits, both incoming and outgoing. We're going to see him taking some big trips, not only to Commonwealth countries such as Antigua, to realms as well later on in the year. But I think they really do enjoy these little trips as well. These sort of smaller, scaled down trips. Maybe not so much pressure as the big US tour. But it's all about sort of focusing in on both the King and Queen's real passions. Charles talking to people running allotments, talking to farmers, talking to school kids about the environment. Of course, we had the Queen visiting local pubs as well. She's very, very invested into local communities. And I think that is really important when you're looking at the nature of these engagements. And for the king and queen, it's been such a busy schedule over the last couple of years, and I think you're totally right when you're sort of box ticking or you're looking at the big schedule with the royal aides and the government and the foreign office. Of course, they want the king and queen to get out to America. They want them to go and tour the Commonwealth. We're going to see the king and queen at Chogham later on in the year in Antigua. These are huge sort of big moments in their diary. But I think when you're seeing the king and queen traveling across the country as we have done over the last few weeks and months, it is really important to make sure you've still got the sort of furniture of the royal family ticking over, because not only have we had the big stories, if you will, of the scandal involving Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, we've had the king and the Princess of Wales's cancer battles. All of these can sort of feel quite dark and gloomy sometimes, and yet when you've got those engagements across the country, those are the things that are really, really important to the royal family, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, over the past few weeks as well, what Charles has been doing, especially, he does look like he's been enjoying himself. And I think it's really shown through, there's been some really nice pictures and videos of him. And I think it's kind of took people's minds away slightly, maybe up until just yesterday or today, but from the kind of just scandal that was happening earlier this year, especially concerning Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
Well, we might as well talk about that now, because we've had some big breaking news over the last few hours. Not only Thames Valley Police saying that they're widening their investigation, they've appealed for witnesses and potential victims to come forward. This investigation was stemming from Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's arrest in February on allegations of misconduct in a public office. That is the potential crime of passing on confidential information, not only to Jeffrey Epstein, but potentially to others. I mean, this investigation seems to be gathering pace with every sort of week. And we hadn't heard anything from the police in several weeks. They said that they would give us an update when they had something to report. And now they've come out and said they are widening this investigation. Now, my understanding is not only are they now sort of looking into these allegations of potential sexual misconduct enveloping those allegations of misconduct in a public office, but Buckingham Palace is now actively assisting the police within their inquiries. Now, this is very, very different from that statement we had from the King in February following Andrew's arrest, where he expressed his deepest concern. He also said that both the authorities and the public had the royal family's full and wholehearted support and cooperation. And of course, nobody could forget that immortal line that he said of, "Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." Now, my understanding is the police have gone to Buckingham Palace. They have asked for visitors' logs for royal residences. That will obviously include Royal Lodge at Windsor, Andrew Mountbatten's former home. One would assume that will be Buckingham Palace, where we know that Andrew did entertain Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is still serving that 20-year prison sentence in America. But also, the police have asked for detailed logs and rotas of his private protection officers, his PPOs. Who were the people accompanying him to not only trips across the UK and when he was welcoming guests to these royal residences, but also abroad. We know he'd gone to Vietnam, to Hong Kong, to Singapore, to India. The list is endless from this period of about 2001 to 2011. So I don't think that this is going away anytime soon. I mean, we've previously said that there are about 10 live investigations in the UK and the US from police and authorities looking into this catalogue of allegations relating to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Now, of course, he's always denied wrongdoing in terms of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but we haven't heard from him even since or after his 11-hour interview. And one may assume that the police will want to speak to him in the future. And that might not just be Thames Valley Police. We know that there are an awful lot of other police forces looking into potential other crimes. I mean, where on earth do you see this going now for Andrew? I mean, it stands to reason this isn't going away, but it's not only a real problem for Andrew; it's a huge problem for the palace as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just to think that the police have had to go to, Buckingham Palace and ask them for this sort of information. Like, you just wouldn't have believed that would have happened, all those years ago when this scandal first came to light. So yeah, it just you just can't predict where it's going to go next. Really, I don't think.
No, you can't. And the issue for the police is that they really do need to be seen to be doing the right thing. And I spoke to our crime editor yesterday, and he said certainly detectives were concerned that the public believed that they were only focused on the claims that Andrew had leaked these documents to Jeffrey Epstein, when the legal terms of misconduct in a public office are much broader. And that's why they've decided to make this announcement. Now, of course, those investigations will look into the allegations that Andrew did pass on sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein as part of his work as a trade envoy, but also, what other investigations can come of that, because certainly the police are looking into a couple of specific claims. There is an unnamed trafficking victim that alleged that when she was in her 20s, at Jeffrey Epstein's request, she spent the night with Andrew at his Royal Lodge home in Windsor. Now, the allegations is that this happened in 2010. She claims that she was taken to Buckingham Palace for tea, and then afterwards, after an exclusive tour of the palace, was taken to Royal Lodge with Andrew and sexually assaulted. Now, Thames Valley Police have said that they have spoken to her lawyer, who incidentally is the same lawyer who represented the late Virginia Giuffre, but officers are yet to carry out interviews because she has not made a formal complaint. Now, they stand ready to interview her when she is ready to do so. But I think, if there were other potential victims or witnesses to come forward like the police have asked for, then we really could see this investigation absolutely exploding and the remit being immensely widened, because I think the police have very, very clearly and plainly spelt it out that this initial allegation of misconduct in a public office can take many forms. Indeed, that's what the police actually said yesterday. It can take many different avenues, and that is exactly what they want to do. I mean, obviously, we haven't heard from Buckingham Palace. We're hearing this from our individual sources that the palace are actively assisting with those specific points that I mentioned. I mean, we're not likely to hear from the palace, are we? This seems, of course, it's a live police investigation. They won't want to sort of muddy the waters. But where do the palace stand in all of this? I mean, it seems to be an incredibly difficult issue for them.
Well, I think it is a difficult issue because I think there are some people who do want them to say something, but like the king said, the law must take its course, and if that's the case, and it's not really a place. There's not really a place for them to say anything at the moment, and yeah, we can just hope that they are helping police with their inquiries, and then we'll just have to see what happens from that.
In due course, certainly. I think that let's see what there's future updates. The police, no doubt, the spotlight is on them now. And Thames Valley detectives realise that there's not only calls for Andrew to go to the US. I mean, some of you may have seen a story I wrote when I was in Washington. I went to a Virginia Giuffre memorial. It was the unfortunate anniversary of 1 year anniversary of her passing, and I spoke to some of the sexual abuse survivors and campaigners who were very, very plainly saying that the king has a responsibility to get Andrew on a plane. He has to some way force him to go to the United States and give evidence. I mean, that may not even be the most pressing matter for the king and the Buckingham Palace, and indeed Andrew as well, if police forces in the UK want to interview him further or for the first time if they're new investigations. So I think that this is, it's a particularly sensitive issue for the palace. It's a grave situation, not only for Andrew, but also the Buckingham Palace, who are monitoring these developments. So, of course, we will bring you them as much as we can. Moving on from Andrew, because I think it's been a very, very interesting week, not only for the royal family. We've, of course, seen the King and Queen out and about. We saw them at the Chelsea Flower Show. We'll touch upon that in a bit. But Prince William, I mean, gosh, he's covered some air miles this week. He was celebrating Aston Villa's historic European trophy win, the first time in 44 years they have sort of reached the height of a European competition. He flew to Istanbul to watch them at the Besiktas Arena and then hot-footed it back. But I just want to give a shout out to two of our colleagues who run the Claret and Blue Aston Villa podcast, who unbelievably, William saw them in the stadium and ran over to them. And if you haven't seen them, it's on the Daily Mirror Instagram page and my Instagram page as well, of the full interview that they got with William after he went over to the two podcast hosts and chatted to them. And it is just such a lovely interview. It is just such a nice engagement between Dan Rollinson and Matt Kendrick, who run the podcast, and William, who said, of course I know who you are. I listen to you all the time. And that is not only great for them as journalists, but if you watch the video, you can see how high William was flying at the moment. I mean, when William is talking about football, do you think that, we're just looking at the views on our social media, there have been millions and millions of people who have seen this, and it definitely is William in his element. I mean, I couldn't imagine the Queen or the King do that. I mean, this seems to be like the absolutely epitome of like the modern royal, doesn't it?
I think so. And I think that's what really endears him to a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily be into the royal family. They kind of see him as, one of us, one of the lads. He goes to the football like what all we do on a weekend. And
I mean, he is in a box. And he probably flew on a private jet to get there. However, no, I'm being facetious. I do think it's good.
No, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's when you see a lot of like, politicians and they'll go, oh, I like football team. And you can tell they don't really know who the players are, but he's, he knows the players, he knows the tactics, he knows everything. So yeah, I think that really is. And I did read something interesting the other day. It was like, can he still go and to the Aston Villa matches when he's king?
Yeah, I think that. Do you remember, just thinking of, talk about politicians who don't know sort of their backhand from their elbow, when David Cameron got West Ham and it was Aston Villa mixed up, wasn't it? I mean, it's talking absolute nonsense. So, it's just ridiculous. I mean, but I think William is very genuine. We've seen him when he was sort of doing that bit of punditry in the tunnel during, I think it was one of their European games when they were back in the Champions League or the Europa Cup, and it was really interesting to see William talk about the team. And if you watch this video of his interaction with the Claret and Blue podcast host, he said himself, he was living in dream world, and he did think about going down to the pitch. Now, obviously, he could have gone down to the pitch and celebrated with the players, but I thought it was really, generous of him to say, this is not my moment. It is the team's moment and the supporters. And he didn't try and gate crash the big celebration for them. We saw him on some of the videos. I mean, he must have had a late night going back and doing all the celebrations, because he had to fly back to then go to Cornwall, which is in the very southwest of England, to do some community engagements over the last couple of days. So, I mean, he must be absolutely shattered. But fair play to him. It looked like a fantastic occasion.
Yeah, and that's what you do if you're a true fan, isn't it? It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there and back. If you want to watch your team, you're gonna do it.
Well, it does help if you've got a private jet at your disposal.
It does help if you've got a private jet, especially if they're playing in Istanbul. Yeah,
I did laugh. I saw an article in the Telegraph saying, he'll find a way to get there. He's such a big fan. And I thought, I bet he will. We're free tickets from the FA or from Aston Villa and flying over. But listen, congratulations to Aston Villa. I thought that was a great moment for William, and I do think he is a true fan. Aston Villa, much like my depleted club West Ham United, have gone through some really difficult periods, relegation, financial constraints and what have you. But they are riding high at the moment, and we should be celebrating them as a British team as well. But talking about William going to Cornwall, he has been not only in Cornwall wearing claret and blue himself. He had a blue shirt on and a claret tie, the team colours of his beloved Aston Villa, but interestingly, he was on the Isles of Scilly, and I have never been to the Isles of Scilly, but it's just off the coast of Cornwall, an absolutely beautiful part of the United Kingdom. But he took part in a live broadcast, the first live national broadcast with Heart FM. It's a big popular commercial station here in the UK. Interviewed by Amanda Holden, Jamie Theakston, two popular presenters and personalities in Britain. And he said some interesting things, didn't he? I mean, he was obviously speaking about Aston Villa, but he was sort of moved on to his to stuff about the kids and his pride in Catherine as well, who's just come back from that triumphant mini visit to Italy. What were your main takeaways from the interview?
Yeah, so I thought he had some really nice words for Kate, actually. So when he was talking to Amanda and Jamie, they were asking him about Kate's trip to Italy last week, which I know you were on, and the welcome that she got when she first got to Reggio Emilia. And they were asking, how did she feel getting back? Was she excited about just how to get back out on the road, essentially? Talking how if he was proud of her, and obviously he did. He was saying that he was so proud, that she's been amazing. She's been through so much over the past couple of years, and she was really looking forward to this trip, and she was buzzing when she got back. So yeah, it was some really nice words, and talking as well about how he has talked about it in the past, how the past few years have been taking their toll on the family as
It's
well.
difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be really difficult.
he actually said it was a really nice thing. He said, he was like, she's an amazing mum, an amazing wife, and literally our family couldn't cope without her. So she's been absolutely stunning, really has. So yeah, just more really nice words for her. But yeah, given some other little insights into, I suppose, life at home with the Waleses, what it's like on the school run, how it can be chaotic. Louis taking jam sandwiches in the car and leaving jam fingerprints everywhere, which I'm sure parents everywhere know what that's like. Cars are never clean, are they? And then
Yes. No, mine looks like it's destined for the tip permanently. But, it's just like that. I thought it was I thought it was a lovely interview. It was very honest
yeah,
and it was very open. And we talk about that trip to Italy. I mean, apologies that we didn't get a podcast out, which sort of just rushing around. But that it was a successful trip. It was great to see the Princess of Wales back out doing what she loves. I mean, the thousands and thousands of people, you would have seen the reports and all the coverage that we had given it. And it was a real triumph. But I thought what was really interesting to pick out of that was that this is a real it is a real moment for Catherine because she is now prepared to not only get back to her royal duties, but prepared to travel. As William said, it had been horrific couple of years, being diagnosed with cancer at the age of 42, incredibly distressing not only for her but for the rest of the family. And then you had, of course, the King's health being really under the spotlight as well. But if she is going to sort of embark upon this international travel, what does that look like? And not only will that sort of benefit her research for early years, but we revealed last week that she is going to go to India. She is prepared to go and accompany William not only for the Earthshot trip, but the people in the government and the Foreign Office will be leaping around the room, I imagine, because a lot of these trips, like Earthshot, but a lot of these foreign tours are at the behest of the government. You look at the success of the King and Queen's state visit to the United States. And of course, India is not only a potential huge trading partner, but it has a very significant place in the world with the war in Ukraine and the state of trade and the environment as well. So when we will see, hopefully, William and Catherine in India, I think they will take on not only in Mumbai for Earthshot, but they'll probably take one or two extra steps. You could imagine going to Delhi, meeting Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister. I mean, these are huge moments that we've been really missing from the Prince and Princess of Wales. I mean, this is surely going to be just incredibly huge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and it'll be incredibly huge for India as well. And I wonder if they've sat at home and watched the King and Queen in America a few weeks ago and saw how well that went down, and thought, maybe we want to have a go at this. See, put our diplomatic skills to the test, maybe.
Yeah. I think that. I mean, talked about soft power diplomacy and the success of Charles's speech to Congress in the United States. Of course, his address at state dinner as well. How he was sort of smoozing Trump, and how you're getting standing ovations from both sides of Congress as well, the joint sessions. Well, I thought that was incredible, and no doubt the Prince and Princess of Wales have that duty to perform as well. There was a huge tour planned in the autumn of 2022 for the King and Queen to go to India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Of course, that got cancelled because of the death of the late Queen. So it kind of has sort of moved on. I think that you've seen that the King has other things on his schedule, going to state visit in the United States and then having to go to Chogham. No doubt he'll probably tag on at least one other realm, I would imagine, or Commonwealth country within that trip. So it's a great opportunity for William and Catherine to get back to business, to show what they can do on the international stage. So we will be looking forward to that. But don't rule out, actually, the Princess of Wales doing another smaller trip along the lines of early years, potentially in Europe this year. You know, these 2-3 day trips that William and Catherine have been doing over the last couple of years do seem to work very well. They talk about impact and scale and a lot, and these buzzwords sort of float around the palace. But seeing it firsthand, I think that it's a great opportunity for them to start getting back to business and doing the little trips, but also taking on these big diplomatic missions as well. So now, just listen, before we leave you, because it is half term next week, no doubt the Waleses will be taking a little break. But I wanted to celebrate the Royal Horticultural Society Chelsea Flower Show, because we saw the King and Queen there with some big celebs. Who did we see? We saw David Beckham,
Again.
Alan Titchmarsh. Again, I mean, he's got his knighthood now. One would imagine he would have sloped off into the distance and handed the baton to Kate Winslet, who is now no doubt hankering for a damehood because she's been seen at the palace so much. But good on David Beckham. We know he is a bit of a horticulturalist and keen environmentalist himself, and he has been on call for whenever the King has called upon him. So who are some other big names as well? We saw Judi Dench there. We saw a couple of big Oscar-winning actresses. But the big news of the day was that the ban on gnomes had been lifted, not only for the second time. I've always been a big fan of the humble garden gnome. And there were gnomes named after King Charles, Alan Titchmarsh, Sir David Beckham, and there was one other. I think it was the man who was the creator of the exhibition,
designer.
The designer of who they're watching. So you're a fan of gnomes?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have it. I don't own one.
No, I did actually. I used to own a gnome.
Oh no, I will admit gardening isn't my forte, so I'm not very green fingered. But yeah, it did look very lovely at Chelsea Flower Show. I just don't have the patience to grow flowers or plants.
No, I'm the same. We're going to leave it to the experts like the King and Sir David Beckham. So, as I said, thank you so much for joining us again, because we have been busy behind the scenes waiting to bring you these new offerings, which we can hopefully launch in the next few weeks. And keep in touch on the socials at PotSave. I'm at Russell J. Myers. Jennifer is at Jennifer Newton 1. Always on Instagram, always answering our emails. Let us know what you want us to tackle over the next few weeks. And until next time.
Pod Save the King!